What's up everybody, this is Gabriel from TruePixel, and today we are going to learn how to create our own materials, colors and textures for our scene in Cinema 4D. Okay, so let's see what we have here. As you see, I have created a scene combining more elements just by using primitive shapes and objects like we have learned before. So, nothing is colored, we have no textures, we have nothing in this scene but the objects that we can see here in this list. I named each of them so it will be easier to track when we apply our materials and colors. Just so you know, materials, colors and textures are not the same thing, but they all meet here in this room called the Material Manager. Let us create the first material in Cinema 4D. You can do that by double-clicking this space here, or by clicking Create New Material. It's the same thing. So whether we want to create a color, a material, or a texture, everything starts from here. Let's define them a little bit so we can see what's the difference. For this, we can just double-click on the ball, and we see a window opens with different channels that we see here and properties for each of them. So if we click on each channel here, we can see that each one has its own values and properties. So just by starting from colors, you'll just have to select color and adjust the sliders over here. Simple as that. This is how we create colors. We can see in the corner here that the ball also changed as we changed the values here. It is very simple to create colors, but if we talk about materials, they have different properties. In order to create a material, like in real life, glass, metal, or mirrors, then we need to learn these channels and how they affect the original material that we made. And if we talk about textures, well, they are photographic projections of real life surfaces like carpets, posters, walls, floors, and wood and so on. These are textures that we use images for. We can bring images from internet, or we can photograph them ourselves and just bring them into scene and apply on the objects, and those are textures. You cannot create textures that easy from just a color or a material. Okay, so now we have our scene. Let's close this window. We will basically texture and color each object that I have made here to bring it to a more realistic look and see how they apply and how they will look in the final render. I will create the colors and the materials myself. And for the textures, I have already saved from the internet some basic textures here, and I will show you how to bring them into Cinema 4D and use them. Okay, we have some stairs, we have a foundation here, we have some pillars, we have a back wall. This looks like a poster. We have a lamp and the ceiling, a table, a bowl, a carpet, and some ears. Let's start with a color, simple color that we apply on our floor, because nothing is textured and nothing is colored. We can edit the ball that we already made, or let's create a new one. Let's delete this one. Double click and double click. We can see that we can affect the color properties here. Or if we just click on the material here, we can see it in the Attributes Manager. Same thing, but I like to create them on a more direct approach. So we go to the color channel, and we have to make a clear white ball. So we just make the 100% on this channel, and we have a full white material. We can take it and drag it directly onto our object. Or, as we learned before, we can just drag it. Let's make the sky also white. We can drag it in the list on the sky object. Now we have a high white sky and floor. Okay, now I want to color the stairs, but I don't want to use a simple color. I want a texture like in real life. So let's see here. I have concrete, I have wood, I have floors, posters, and I have granite or concrete. Okay, let's choose a concrete texture. There are two ways to bring a photo texture into Cinema 4D. The simplest one is to just drag it into the material manager here. Or you can create a new material, double click on it, go to the color channel, and we have here a texture channel path that we can browse and simply choose our texture. And here we have it. But I usually prefer the drag and drop version because it's easier and faster for me. Okay, to color the stairs, we have our concrete texture here, and we can add it directly on each stair, or we can add it on the stairs group that we have in our object list. Let's make it manually for each of them. Just click and drag it on the object. Now let's apply the same concrete on the base cube we have here for our scene. There we go. Now, how about if we want to add two textures on the same object? Because in this area here, we want a wooden floor. So we brought the wooden floor texture and we want to apply it on this area. Let's do that. Oops. Oh, not good. We don't want this. Let's undo. As we learned from our object editing video, we can also select different parts of the object. In this case, we want to texture only the floor inside this parameter. So we choose the polygon selection, click to select and highlight the floor, and then if we drag the texture with the floor on it, we can see it only textured what we have selected. And now we have a floor. Now we will create a new material by double clicking and choose a color for the pillars. Quick info, just so you can change the names of the objects manually in the object list, you can do so with the materials in the material manager. Let's take the floor, double click on the name and write it manually. Okay, let's double click this new material, go to the colors, and let's choose a dark gray, something like this. Close it, and we apply it on our pillars. Okay, let's texture the wall that we have here. Let's apply a different texture, something more realistic. So I will choose from my saved texture a wall pattern. You will have a realistic wall pattern. and just apply it on the wall. Another thing I want to show you regarding patterns is that in the attributes manager here, everything can be adjusted. So we have the material checked, and here we can change the display perspective values just by shifting these numbers. You can see what happens. We can adjust it horizontally, vertically, or we can move the texture with the offset parameters. Just to make it look real and logical. Handling these properties here depend on how good your texture is made. So the better the texture you want to have, the less you need to use these settings. Let us now texture the ceiling elements. For the ceiling board, we're just going to create a new material and give it a simple white color. And we have a ceiling lamp that we want to make something that looks like metal here for these two elements, and a nice color with a light bottom here. Let's see how we do that. The metal is not a color, is a material, so you can create it yourself. We will learn how to do that in a different episode, or you can use it from the menu here. Cinema 4D comes with some pre-made materials that you can use easily. So if you just go to the Create shader, we have a channel and a new K. From what I experienced, these two look more like metal. So let's choose a Danel. You can see it already looks like a metal. And drag it on the two objects. For the lamp, let's create another material. Give it a yellow orangey look. Adjust the sliders. And how do we do this bottom polygon here to be an actual light, to be illuminated? We can create a new material and look, we have here a channel called luminance. Only by applying the checkbox here, it became a light. You can change the color of this light or leave it as it is. Let's make a warm yellow light. Everything that you check the luminance channel for will become a light source. Now, we can apply the same principle as for the floor. We need to select only this polygon face and drag the light on it. And now we have an object with two textures. You can apply even more textures if you just select your polygons and put a new material on. Okay, now we have a poster on the wall. I have already saved an image for it. I will bring it to Cinema 4D and apply it on the poster. What about if we want to make the edges of the poster a different material? We will have to first make the object editable with this button here. Select the polygon face selection, and either we can manually select them by hand, or we can just select them all with Control A and deselect the front, holding Shift and click on it. Now we can create a new material. While we have selected the edges, we can work with the material. Let's make some black edges and apply it only on the surfaces selected. Then we put it on the wall and we have a nice photo. Okay, let's now bring the carpet into our material manager and the wood, and deal with these objects right here. We have the carpet and we want to make a wooden table. There. Now I want to make this bowl on the table look like a glass bowl. So we need a glass material for that you cannot bring from your desktop. So you would either have to do it yourself, and we will learn how to do it in a separate video, or as we created the metal texture from this shader menu, we also have a glass lookalike material that's called a bangee. So click on the create menu, shader, and bangee. Now we see we have a glass material from the default Cinema 4D library. We can choose to apply it as it is or play with the colors a little bit. So we see that we have a surface color here and a volume color here. Let us change and play a little bit with it. Let's try to make it a red mandarin something. And now our glass has a orangey tint. Apply it on the ball, and let's do a sample rendering just to see how it looks like. Cool. If we're not satisfied with the looks and the colors, we can insist on changing even more. The settings. Okay, what have we left to texture? We have these spheres right here. We can use simple colors. Now that we have learned how to create colors. And our scene is fully textured. Pretty nice. If we look on the details now, let's check the lamp light and the metal, for example. We can have region renderings just to be sure our materials are realistic for the final scene. Now we can see how the metal looks like and how the light is affecting the scene. We can also tweak and add more settings to the textures individually by editing the materials here. We can add some reflections for the floors. We can add some bump for the materials that are really extruded in real life. We can add some more reflections and luminance and so on. But we will learn all these tweaks in future videos as we actually make final scenes and learn more stuff about textures, materials, and colors. Let's turn off the light and have a final render to see how our light affects the entire scene. You can do that by just turning off the sky and render. So this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what I'm doing, make sure you subscribe and follow my next videos and see what's up.